Mythos Busters, investigating the mystery, monsters, and madness of Arkham Horror, the card game.
Hello and welcome to episode 158 of Mythos Busters. I am Sean, and oh boy, I've missed you guys. Just come here. How have you been? Inappropriate uncle kisses, I guess. That's what 3 months off does to me. I'm so happy to be back here, and I am joined by the dudes. We've got Justin. Hey, Justin.
Heyo. It's good to be back.
It is.
Yeah. I get to see you every once in a while, but boys, I've missed being a full crew. I just have.
Mm-hmm. We took a break, and we took it hard, and here we are. So, of course, also is Ian. Hey, Ian.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. Summer's over. I got my new backpack. I got my supplies list for the new class ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Did you pick out a Trapper Keeper that has a badass logo on it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Oh, you guys didn't get like the plain black one and then like let your friends draw on it in whiteout? That was the thing for my grade. I think everyone had
I definitely wrote different band names in whiteout on my backpack.
It was just a collection of like the 3D S's, you know, that everyone knew how to draw in 1990, 2000, whenever it was. Scott's with us as well. Hey, Scott.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing good. That break was refreshing. I needed it. I think we all needed it. After 6 years of doing this and what we pulled off through COVID and just kept at that pace and then BusterCon. It was important to have that self-care.
Well, you know, it's been a while since I've read Genesis, but even God rested on the seventh day. So I think after our magnum opus, that was BusterCon, it was coming, and it felt very good. But as with any good break, absence doth make the heart grow fonder. As we got farther and farther into break, I started thinking to myself, like, oh man, it's been a while since we recorded. Mm-hmm. Oh, and also, like, Arkham popped the fuck off, like, the second we decided to take a break. And we talk about that for a second.
I feel like that was maybe Nick planning.
Yeah.
You know, he's like,
definitely.
Oh, they're on break, quick. And then, you know, told everyone at FFG to just pump out as much Arkham as you can. So...
Yeah. So I suppose it probably would be a good thing to set the expectation. Guys, we're gonna make this a very casual, very self-indulgent episode for you tonight. It's probably gonna be a little bit shorter. Knock on wood. I know I've said that before. And we're probably actually not going to talk a whole lot about Arkham. We are going to get into the swing of things with October's episode, and talk about all the news and the parallel investigators and the new FAQ dropped and had some big things in it.
Some real zingers
that warrant discussion, at least. So that's going to be next episode. This episode is Ian. I think you were the one who said it. Like you popped in our chat yesterday, and we're like, "Oh, it feels like the first day before school." Mm-hmm. And So we're going to talk about what we did on our summer break for the majority of this episode, Arkham and otherwise. But before we get to any of that, we've got some news to share with you guys. The podcast, as it has existed up to this point, has been a wonderful thing and project. And it sounds like I'm about to cancel the podcast.
Yeah.
It sounds
We're fine.
I heard everyone breathe in deep.
Yeah. We did this when we were all together. I said, don't bury the lead. Say it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
That still stands.
Like the collective sound of so many buttholes puckering. It was just deafening.
Yeah.
Dear listener, relax. We're still here with you.
Yeah.
But
unclench. It's fine.
Yeah.
As you may have surmised, I don't think we've kept this any secret. As COVID launched into all these different projects that we and stretch goals that we hit and Dissonant Voices, and then that became BusterCon, and then BusterCon got moved, and yeah, just like one thing kind of led into it to the other. I don't think we've made it any secret that it's been a wonderful, but by the time we hit BusterCon, I think a lot of us were feeling pretty tired. And it's just been kind of a point of discussion among us as to what this looks like going forward. So we're still here. We're still doing this, as regularly as we can. We'll talk about that in a second. But overall, there are some things that are going to change going forward. And I suppose let's talk about those. So for the podcast itself, we are going to be moving to a monthly recording schedule. So we're going to sit down and have a recording once a month. And beyond that, we are going to start putting a lot more energy into our other projects that have kind of gone by the wayside. I've mentioned, in the stream of things that I really miss twitching.
I agree.
I think YouTube as a platform kind of doesn't care about us a whole lot just because we don't really play with the algorithm, but I really miss twitching. So I want to put more energy into that. The other boys kind of are rumbling around in their heads for what they want to do kind of more on an individual project basis. So all that is to say, the podcast continues on. It will release slightly less regularly, but we invite all of you, please come out and engage with us on the other stuff that we're doing. You're going to see us more on Twitch. We're probably going to be releasing every once in a while, probably not at any regular clip, more one-off little bonus episodes on the RSS stream that are different from our regular episodes. So we'll do our best to communicate what's going on and what we've done recently at any given time, but Mythos Busters is kind of spreading its tendrils back out to its other platforms a little bit going forward.
I think a lot of this too, just to kind of, not to put what's the phrase where you get to see how the sausage is made or the man behind the curtain or whatever it is, but all of this is also coming from us being super passionate about this community and the game. And there was a bit of the podcast and our format that we had created, the bi-weekly stuff, that it kind of held us back. The time that we have to put into content creation is unfortunately finite.
Yeah.
If this could support my family, I would do content creation full time.
Oh yeah, no doubt. If we could just do this, it would be a different thing.
But we constantly have so many ideas and little projects we want to do, whether it's videos, streams, all these things, and so often they were kind of but we already have this and that and whatever to do. And this is just us reframing how we want to approach our interaction with the community and how we are going to create new things. I am so excited that by going to a monthly format for the podcasting, now I have another time in the month where, Sean, you and I can maybe get back into TNA. Who knows, right? Do some streams.
I would love nothing more.
Do some in-depth deck build and use video, because video is a great way to show stuff in this game, right? I'm just so excited for this. I hope our listeners are also excited for this. It's a change, but I think it's not a change for change's sake. It's a very heavily thought about change.
All 3 months.
Yeah.
And some lead up beyond that.
Yeah. With the emphasis behind the change is to create great stuff for people and for the community. That is at the root, at the heart of the change. So
yeah. Well, and Scott, like you were alluding to, it gives us more space. And one of the biggest things that I personally was looking for in that space is that, as much as I want to return to the stuff that we've done before and kind of give that more energy, it'd be really cool to be able to do new things again. It's been a very long time since our format as a podcast, which, one other thing we've learned is that we are not just a podcast. We're kind of a multimedia community entity at this point. It's exciting that we can kind of just try some new things and see if it's worth doing. And I don't know, the novelty. It was time to spice up ye old Buster
HQ.
Yeah, there you go.
Buster Enterprises.
I was about to say something that would get me a meeting with HR, so that's way better.
Yeah, good.
So look forward to more information on that. If you're a patron, there's going to be really no change to what that looks like. Again, aside from the fact that we're going to be doing one podcast episode a month, and then at least one other piece of content, whether that be Twitch or something of that regard. I'm hoping we can get most months. I'm hoping we're going to see more than one other entry, but it'll be at least one other creation. So there'll be no change for anyone there. And yeah, just looking forward to coming back at this with some new ideas and I actually get to play Arkham on Mythos Busters again.
I think a big thing, and this is another seeing how the sausage gets made thing. When we sit down to record, usually, there's like 20 minutes, half an hour beforehand we meet up. Then it's like 2.5 hours, let's be honest, of recording. And then the editing is usually hours on that, right? And so dropping that podcast to once a month, that frees up a lot of time for the streaming and stuff. And so, Sean, just exactly what you're saying, we'll give you another piece of content, but I foresee it's going to be more than one extra piece of content beyond. Yeah. It's freeing up so much time. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so very, very excited about that. We'll get started with that. Like I said, next month we'll record an episode where we dive into everything that we missed. Dear God, it's a lot. I don't know if we're going to be able to keep it to 2 hours next time, but we'll do our best.
Yeah, October's episode is going to be an episode.
Girthy.
Yeah.
So, look forward to that. The girthening. All right, well, that's the first time we've named an episode before it started.
Girthtober.
Girthtober. Okay, so one other piece of just kind of announcement communication here. I know there's been a lot of chatter in the post BusterCon world about the next BusterCon, which we love to see that. That's flattering and wonderful that people are looking forward to a new one. So there's a lot of things at play, but one thing we can announce at this point is that it is highly unlikely that BusterCon 2 will be in May of 2024. It will almost definitely come after that at some point. Exact date to be nailed down at TBD. So we will keep people informed on that, but don't save any of your May weekends for us.
And along with that, we are not doing anything in place of Arkham Knights 2023 in October. Just to be clear for everybody, I know that as we're recording this, FFG has just announced the OP kits for Arkham Knights. I think they're trying to do that a little more decentralized. And people have asked us if we are doing BusterCon 1.5 or some sort of event in October, and we are not in October 2023. So do not wait for us if you are making plans just to play with some friends or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good call out. Though it's not out of the question that we might do something in and around and kind of with the energy of Arkham Knights. So we'll announce things as we plan them.
With ample time beforehand so you can make actual travel plans.
Ideally.
Yeah.
Ideally. Although our things will probably be online things.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. I mean, some people have to travel to their computer.
That's true.
Down a flight of stairs, right? That's a flight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow.
Can
Scott,
be
what
if
did
you
you
do
do?
it wrong.
What did you do this summer besides be a dad?
I mean, that's pretty much it. But are we into that part now?
Oh yeah, no. Sorry,
okay.
That was my segue. Yeah, go ahead. Expound.
Well, actually, I did a lot of dad things. Obviously, I have two small children. We had a family vacation. I got pneumonia, which is legit. Had to do 10 days of antibiotics. I, at one point, to go up a staircase in my house, I had to stop halfway, catch my breath, get the dizzies out, and continue up. It was ridiculous. From my bed to my bathroom, get up and go pee, I would sit down on the toilet because I needed to catch my breath from walking from my bed. Yeah, it was bad. But I'm on the road to recovery. But yeah, that was part of it. Family vacation was a lot of work, but it was a good time. Yeah, got to play some Arkham. I think we're going to be talking about it, but played a nice campaign of TSK. one of the most successful campaigns, actually the most successful TSK campaign I've had. So,
Ooh.
yeah.
Oh, we'll get to that. Excellent. Justin, how about you? Just in general.
Just in general, I have a whole list. We can talk about it later. I did not get to as much Arkham as I had hoped over summer vacation, but that's okay. That's okay. I did other things, and yeah, for the most part, I'm still settling in. So for those who know, we moved last year, and I am a big yard person. And I didn't get to work on my yard last year. That was the agreement we made, that we'd focus on the interior of the house where we lived. And so this was my year. and so my yard is amazing now. It'll get even better, but Sean has seen the crazy yard person energy that I give off. I love my yard.
You are a great yard dad.
Yeah. So did that, and yeah, otherwise it was just nice to be.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Ian, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, a good chunk of it. I'm also a dad, as listeners know, and so that's always a good chunk of the quote-unquote break. So in terms of Arkham, I also had very grand plans of, like, I'm going to play so many campaigns, which didn't quite pan out. I did get to play some Scarlet Keys, which we can talk about, and did actually have some success, similar to Scott, which was surprising / gratifying. I think one of the big things I did is I went to Gen Con, my first Gen Con back since, 2019, pre-COVID. So that was an interesting experience. I did not get to play in any of the Arkham events, which I'm sure people will probably be wondering. I did not get to play in those. Sadly, I was up to other stuff.
Did you miss us?
Yeah, I mean, it did not feel at all the same because I'm used to being there with you guys. So it was a much different experience, and not as fun, frankly. And also, previous to that, I had been to Gen Con the previous, 7 years or whatever it was, 7 years in a row of going to Gen Con, a break during, once COVID hit, obviously. So I had forgotten how busy Gen Con was. And this was also a supremely busy Gen Con. I think this is the first Gen Con since COVID that was back to pre-COVID levels plus some. It felt even busier than I remembered.
Crazy.
Yeah, so even I had times where I'm like, oh, let me go through the vendor hall, and just see, even though that's not my favorite thing to do at Gen Con anymore. I was like, it's been several years. But I could only hang so long before the crowds push me out. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm out of here.
How many times did you fill up your soda thermos?
None,
Is that still
sadly. Yeah, I just...
Wild Bills? Is that what it was called?
Yeah, it was kind of a weird Gen Con because I also had to work still on the Thursday and Friday because I was trying to preserve my days off from work because I've been doing other traveling. So then I had to work during the day and then head over to the Gen Con area. So it just wasn't worth it for me to try to fill up my soda.
Fair.
Yeah.
What was the pizza this year? Did you have the annual special pizza?
No,
From
I don't.
Hotbox?
I'm not even sure. Yeah, it was a very weird Gen Con for me. I tried to find the usual Dead CCG table and I didn't see it. So
Damn. Okay.
yeah, it probably was there just in a different location. So
And did we lose some of the staples of Gen Con to COVID? Probably. I mean,
I hope not. That's
Bound to
one of
happen,
the most
right?
important parts.
I'll go look at and not buy the WCW Raw starter decks for the 16th time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I mean, for my part, yeah, Justin, I think you said it pretty much the most essentially that I could. Is it was very nice to have a few months to just be, And we were carrying a lot of mental bandwidth for the podcast for a good long while, and it was just kind of nice to be able to set it down and know it would be there when I got back and not have to worry about it for a little bit. The kiddo started driving this summer. She got her license in June, so that was kind of a big that was a big thing in the house. Trying to think what else. I'm gonna try to get her. She plays Arkham. I might try to get her on streams. I'm gonna see if that's a thing I can do.
That would be cool.
I beat. I guess we'll save that. We'll save that for after Arkham talk. But yeah, no, I mean it was just a matter of getting outside a lot this summer. I continued lifting. I started lifting weights a little bit more seriously with my friend Kip. He's built himself like a bro gym in his garage.
That sounds amazing.
It's really amazing what they've actually been able to do with that space. He and his brother live there. So I introduced myself to creatine this summer, which was new.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're like full on fitness, bro.
We're trying to take it a little seriously.
Yeah. Counting your macros?
Oh God. Okay. On that count, I actually, no. So on the fitness bro count, yeah. I got back in touch with Brandon from Cardboard of the Ring. Ooh. So long time podcasting and gaming friend. We had kind of fallen apart, or fallen
out of touch.
Out of just regular. Yeah. Thank you. Out of touch is the one I was reaching for. Probably like halfway through quarantine, and just kind of never picked it back up. So got to talk to him. So yeah, I'm on my Brandon arc. Is basically what I'm saying. It's, but yeah, no, it's been just a nice low key summer. Little warm in Minnesota. Of course, it's a little warm everywhere. That's kind of how that works. So
thanks for all the smoke, Scott.
Oh yeah. Sorry, you guys are getting our leftovers. It has been so. There's this like air quality index that is. There's a lot of forest fires. If anyone didn't know, in my province. But other adjoining provinces and whatnot. But there was this air quality number scale thing that went from 0 to 10. And it was based on parts per million or something of smoke, particle, debris, whatever. They had to create 11 this summer. Like they had to increase the scale because the scale couldn't capture how bad the air was.
Wow. That tracks.
Yeah.
We got a new icon on my weather app that it just kind of would recur this whole summer, and it was just smoke. That's just a weather condition that we have now in the apocalypse. That's fun.
Yeah, it was great having pneumonia during this summer with all the smoke.
Ooh,
yeah,
God, I can only imagine.
There were some bad days, I tell you.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, okay, let's talk a little Arkham then. Let's slide the Arkham meat into the center of this episode for anyone who's only sticking around to hear us talk about Arkham, which you've made it through 20 minutes, so good on you. So yeah, I think as promised, I know I was kind of loud about this at the con and on episodes before it. Like I was definitely good at on my promise at throwing myself at the Scarlet Keys after BusterCon, and that in conjunction with doing dissonant voices for it, like front to back, and knowing all the different arcs and all the characters, like I'm having a very good time with the campaign now. There are still parts I have criticisms on, but I think in general I really like what the campaign's doing, and there are some scenarios that are really up there for me as far as like they're fun to play.
Yeah, I was able to, like I said, play my most successful campaign of TSK. And I think this is going to be tough to say. What changed it for me was playing with a friend who had played TSK a decent amount, and was able to basically summarize the text before and after games. And so it's like, hey, so these are the 3 options of scenarios. Because I had read through TSK like when I was playing before, but man, like once I pass a couple paragraphs, like my brain just goes fuzzy, right? That's me personally. I know a lot of people love the story and all that stuff. That's not what I
know, Scott. On the Arkham Cards app, you can have the campaign text read to you at an increased speed, even if you like.
I understand that, but still, it was just too much for me, quite honestly.
Yeah.
And but being able to get that that Cole, it's Cole's Notes in Canada, but I know you guys have a different thing.
Cliff's Notes.
Cliff's Notes. There we go. Of what's happening made it really enjoyable instead of just playing through it. You know what I mean? Like, I got the TLDR on the scenarios, and also was guided through this campaign.
That helps.
Yeah.
No, like having purpose in this campaign feels a lot better than just like feeling your way through blindly. Like your first few times through this campaign, you feel like a lot of the campaign's just like being deliberately held out of your reach because you fucked up without knowing it. But once you kind of know the big points and like know, for instance, one of the big ones that I'm trying to knock off my list, or I just recently knocked off my list, it took me a while, was playing through Without a Trace, and finishing the campaign that way.
Yeah.
But you have to know like 5 things before you get there. It is so much more complicated than unlocking turn back time.
Yeah, I feel like I'm also more positive about Scarlet Keys than I was before after having played it more. And I think part of it is just that familiarity, like you're talking about, and knowing like this scenario is going to be like this, and if I do these scenarios in this order, it's just all that kind of meta knowledge about how the campaign works, which I think maybe is tough when people are first, including myself, tackling Scarlet Keys, because I think maybe there's the expectation of like, this is kind of like a freeform sandbox and go wherever and do whatever, which you can do. You just might not have a good time doing it.
But you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah. And it's not so much that when you get to know it, it's really more of something that you have to know how it works. And for the third how the sausage is made analogy of this episode, how the TSK sausage is made really helps. And I think the other part that helped me too is just accepting, as a player who likes doing a lot of experimental decks, accepting that TSK, I'm just going to be an optimizer and just cheese the hell out of it and be fine with that. And that helped me enjoy it more.
For the first time in a long time, the decks that finally got me through doing without a trace run were ones that I specifically built for TSK. I don't think I'd run those decks in any other campaign. It was an Agnes and Roland deck, or pair. So like Agnes with her pings to chew through decoys, and Roland's got the extra ability to like get clues and ping damage with Luxley, and just like I very, very specifically built these decks to deal with decoys. Or sorry, not hidden cards.
Shadows. In the
they're in the shadows, but what are the concealed cards? There
Yes.
we go. We got there. I built the deck to deal specifically with concealed as a mechanic and had a much, much better time as a result.
Ian, what I'm hearing is that in terms of making the sausage, you have a cheese-filled sausage.
Yes, yeah.
Those are the best kind.
Yeah,
like
they really are. No, I want a cheese-filled sausage.
Our German listeners are dying inside. But I think for me too, like that was also part of the enjoyment of this campaign, was very specifically making 2 decks that fight TSK and what it does very specifically. And yeah, that just, and so it was Case I was playing with, and I was Ursula, surprising nobody, and he played Tony, and just killing Tony, right? Took Guardian as the splash, and we just said basically like, okay, I'm getting clues, you're killing things, and as far as the decoys go, or the dudes, the
Concealed cards.
Thank you. There we go. Concealed cards. We just had a ton of tech for getting them. Like working a hunch and garrote wire and like all these little things where it's like, I just need to do 1 damage or get a single clue or something like that. And that just made it so much better. And I think some of the, like, TSK is a hard campaign.
Yes.
And it asks a lot of you, and it asks for a lot of actions that you must do. And I feel like there's not a lot of wiggle room, and I think anyone who's going into it, even on multiple plays, with their favorite pet deck or a fun deck or something like that that isn't tweaked for TSK.
Or, like Amina, like I did the first time.
Yeah. You're going to have a bad time. And I mean, I don't mind that, but I definitely see other people's perspective where, why can't I bring my janky-ass Amina deck into TSK?
Is there any other kind?
Yeah. It's because TSK is absolutely rough. I will not argue that. But I also love building for very specific things. Part of the reason I love Iron Man, right? Like tearing a campaign apart. So,
well, and it's cool. I mean, it's the blade cuts both ways, because for those of us who are really dedicated and who will play through a campaign 12 times, like the ones that like kind of almost ask you to are the ones that end up being your favorite, because it's like there's more depth and variety, and you like had to figure things out, and you kind of have to know what you're doing, and therefore at the end of it all you feel more accomplished, and I guess it adds to the sweetness of the victory, because it just requires all that actual skill, right? But on the other hand, then you look at people who will maybe only play through, the more casual player who will play through a campaign like once or twice. I mean, I wouldn't say I had a good time with TSK until like my 4th or 5th campaign after doing Dissonant Voices, which, for a normal person probably would have added more planning and time to learn things.
That was my question, because the only time I've been able to play it was when we did our face check that day, Sean. And I am excited to go back to it. But you guys know where I stand with being able to go through these. I play the least out of all of us. I still want to play through this more times. I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried that if I was just trying to figure out the story path on my own, it would lose me, or I wouldn't have enough time to do it. And so I will likely be pinging you guys or looking online and be like, hey, where should I go? So I can get the good story beats. But it's good to know that it took that 4 or 5 times to really sink its teeth into you, because that lets me know how much I should try and go for it on my own and be like, oh, I'm sure after the second time it'll be fine, versus no, just get a little help with direction.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really big piece of it. I know people want to call this like an open world game, like an open world format. Like, I would liken this less to like Breath of the Wild in its structure than I would say it's more like a Hitman mission. The world just happens around you, and you could take any number of approaches or paths to your objective. You can wander around aimlessly and just observe things. It kind of depends on what you want to do, and having a strategy, having an aim, having an ending you want to shoot for, keys you'd prefer to get and hold on to because they'd be fun with your investigator. Like, you need direction in this campaign, I think, to have a good time and a decent chance of ultimately winning it, which of course is just only going to come after a few plays probably, unless you're just going to spoil it for yourself. I think this campaign, unfortunately, while kind of advertising as open world, almost kind of makes it worse if you're just aimlessly exploring, right? Because like you'll discover things out of sequence and kind of not know where to go for the next thing, and I just we've been saying it in a billion different ways here, but the more meta knowledge you have, I think the more rewarding the campaign is, and the better it treats you.
And the better it feels. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say that TSK has gotten kind of mixed reviews, more mixed than I think anyone was expecting.
People are bringing the strongest feelings to bear, at the very least.
Yes. And I would say a fair bit of that is this kind of like gap between people's expectations of what it was going to be and what it actually is, like that open world piece being part of it, and like that kind of open world sandbox experience, and that's not really what it is, like we've been talking about. So like, because to me, I like I mentioned, I'm more positive. I don't think it's a bad campaign at all. I think there's a lot of good elements to it. I really like it, but it does take that kind of dedication of playing it through and getting to know it. It almost feels like it would benefit from like those video games you play where they have the different like icons for locations you can visit, but they have like, oh, you must be level whatever to visit this location, or this is going to be a very difficult, like if you go to this location at your current level, you're going to have a hard time. Like, I almost feel like this campaign would benefit from those kind of like tool tips for the different locations, to kind of guide players through.
Have you guys seen anything by way of like community resources of people like drawing out? Because the thing is, like, you can plot your whole path. There are some resolutions that will take more time than expected if it goes wrong. So like it's not completely quantifiable. But if you build in a little bit of cushion for that sort of thing, like for Iron Man, for instance, we will be plotting our path, front to end when we get to that point. So I'd be curious to know if anyone's actually like compiled like, hey, here's some paths you can take, and here's how you make these things you want to do the most efficient in insofar as spending time goes. That'd be cool to see.
I think too that this was the first campaign that, gave us that open world feeling, because it's the first one that could do it, right? Because of the new, well, not new anymore, but the new production model. Which I'm loving. But Arkham, the previous campaigns, and as much as like Edge of the Earth has like, you can miss some scenarios or come at them from different angles, right? It's still very much not a railroad, but a straight campaign. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
linear storytelling.
Yeah, and I think Arkham players have gotten really used to, your first time through a campaign, you can fail forward, but you're still going forward, and you can get punched in the crotch 3 times, but you're still moving on to scenario 4, right? But TSK, you may not be able to fail forward because you don't know what direction forward is, and I think that feeling is what I see coming across in a lot of the issues where it's like, I'm having a rough time because this is a hard campaign, and also I have no idea what to do next or where to go. Because I don't have that scenario 1, scenario 2, scenario 3 in order. It's choose your own adventure, and it feels like it's, I don't know if you guys ever read those books, but I always keep my finger in my last decision point, right? And it just, right? Yeah. And it's just so hard to do that with a game because you've played through the scenario or you've gone to this location or whatever. Yeah. I can see the complaints. And I just think that this campaign almost requires an Iron Man planning approach, even for casual enjoyment of it.
Which is tough if you don't want to spoil something.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so there's that. And then I think it is, Ian, to your earlier point, that it's bridging what you said and what Scott just said about, hey, if it is the choose your own adventure, there's a difference between holding your finger on the page you're flipping and having spent 2 hours playing a scenario. And just the expectations people would have for, oh, it's open world, I can make choices. They hear that, oh, it'll just work out no matter what they do, when in reality it should be more measured.
And you might not even find out that the decision you made back then was incorrect until 3 scenarios or 3 entries later, and you're like, oh shoot, I shouldn't have gone there, I should have gone to this other place to meet this person to get the key. And yeah, so it can feel, yeah, I get it. I love this. I love the campaign now. But it took work, and I feel like that campaign is you get what you put into it. Like, you put a lot of effort into this campaign, you are going to have fantastic experiences. But that's the thing. People may not know that going in, and they can have a bad time. And I completely get that.
And if you're salty like me, a first experience that's, pretty lackluster, you might take a little bit of, summoning mental energy to show up again. So
I was worried for Justin's safety, I think, at some point on your opening day.
It's fine. We have a little bit of salt protection there because it's just fun to try it. But we did definitely hit a point where it was, okay, we're going to do one more and see how it goes. And it did end up being the last one. But
it worked out in the end.
That is still one of my favorite days of the year, is when new Arkham comes out and we try and just blast through it.
Agree.
I think I will be... I loved the Edge of the Earth one. This one was still a tops, but I think that getting into when we do that for Hemlock Vale is going to go back to more how I felt when we blasted through Edge.
Yeah, very likely.
Yeah. So I have a quick question, a tangent here with TSK. So I am considering this winter, so I can play a little more Arkham, finally sucking it up and trying true solo. What I am hearing though from all of this is maybe don't do that with TSK as the campaign.
I don't
Question
like
mark?
TSK in solo, and I did it with Gloria, so like as easy as it gets.
Oh, and you know how much I love Gloria, so
I mean, you know, this might be a me thing because I just like prefer multiplayer over solo anyway. But concealed cards exploding all over the board is a lot easier to manage when you've got bodies you can spread out. I feel like that particular mechanic taxes solo players significantly more.
It's definitely the toughest true solo campaign in my book. I was able to get a true solo win because I was like on a mission to beat it.
You were.
Yeah, but again, this was cheese. I was doing, speaking of Roland, you mentioned you used Roland in your 2 decks. I did solo Roland. And between like Luxley and some other effects, I was getting chains of like get a clue, damage, clue, and just pinging all the concealed cards. I think if you don't have like cheesy ways to like hit a bunch of concealed cards, then it's really tough true solo.
Yeah, I think it may be the worst campaign to learn how to play solo.
okay.
I
will play
would not
something else.
recommend it.
Yeah. I will also, if you have questions about solo and you want like show me your deck or whatever, like Justin, just
Oh, we're gonna make a Twitch stream of it, man.
It's almost like we're going to turn that into content, and we just haven't talked about it yet, but we're announcing it here for the world.
Oh,
Yeah,
There you go. There you go.
I still love solo in this game. I just think it brings really awesome, unique puzzles to a multiplayer game that you can play solo, as Sean puts it. It does say 1 player on the box, though, so officially. But
I think one interesting solo versus multiplayer thing for TSK is the amount of reading and the nodes locations that are reading only. Like you're not playing a scenario, you're just reading through and making decisions. Like as someone who mostly plays solo, whether that's two-handed or true solo, like that's fine. Like if I'm going to a location with reading, this is just turning into reading time for Ian, right? Like It's not a big deal. But reading through a lot of these like 4-player groups who are like face checking through TSK and talking about how they like had it
Did a scenario,
they
read for an hour.
Yeah, you show up at your friend's house to play some Arkham, play the new campaign, and they would go through like 3 locations in a row that are just reading, so they're sitting around listening to someone read for like an hour. Like I get why people kind of had a brutal experience and were a little bit salty about that, but it was something that I didn't think about at all as like someone who doesn't really play through, especially a new campaign in that kind of setting.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing to discuss because it's probably not a thing as a designer you think a whole lot about. Like you're just presenting the story you want to present in the way you want to present it, and you know there's just kind of a wide variety of play styles and contexts that it's going to be experienced in. Kind of wacky, but yeah. Anyway, we'll have more words to say about TSK in the future, I'm sure. But I definitely am more positive on it now than I was before now.
I feel like this is a campaign that we are going to be talking about still a year from now. and just feelings on it because it is just so different from previous campaigns where I feel like once we got the new campaign, whatever was the previous campaign, it was kind of like, oh, well, we've figured it out, we've made the decisions, but this one is just so unique in the amount of decisions and such that, yeah, I think we'll be talking about TSK for the next year or two. Like, occasionally.
Iron Man brainstorming for this one, I'm going to try to participate in, but it's already making my head spin. Like I'm best equipped to participate in this one because of Dissonant Voices, but it's gonna be really intense.
Yeah.
I think, Scott, to the point of talking about this a year from now, I have a sense that the way we're going to start talking about Arkham is almost going to be similar to Star Wars. And I say that knowing that's a charged thing to bring up around a nerddom. But what I mean is, there is the original
Which
trilogy.
campaign is The Last Jedi?
The prequel trilogy, the sequel trilogy, and then the one-offs. And
Yeah.
I wonder if we start talking about it like Edge, TSK, and Hemlock Vale are a certain, set. I don't know where the actual dividing lines are,
Yeah.
but that's roughly the sense I get of, as we see, then we'll have 3 in the new format, and then do they tie into old ones, or is it just all, pre-new format? But I think we're heading toward that sort of division in how we talk about it, because there are so many different things that have been happening.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, and even like the original trilogy of Dunwich, Carcosa, and Forgotten Age, right? And then you suddenly get the, pardon my French, dick punching of Circle Undone, and then you get not easy, but Dream Eaters, and then Innsmouth Conspiracy, right? Like that to me feels like a whole nother trilogy. And then we go to Edge of the Earth and Scarlet Keys, and now it's going to be, right? Like I think there's 100% eras in Arkham.
Yeah, there's
For sure.
seasons for sure.
Yeah.
Would that make Excelsior Rogue One?
I think it would have to be.
I think I just heard Nick squeal in joy somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I think he likes most of Rogue One. We've talked Star Wars before.
Rogue One is fantastic.
Ian's like, don't bring up The Last Jedi. Don't bring up The Last Jedi."
He's doing so well.
The Last Jedi, speaking of Fortune and Folly. No, joking. God, no.
Not even gonna touch that.
You know what? Fortune and Folly is Andor.
Oh, I mean, that's the highest compliment I can be paid.
Yeah, exactly.
I freaking love Andor.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to get back to Andor. We watched the first episode and then
Oh, Sean, it is the best.
The
Star
Last
Wars.
of Us dropped, I think.
Who
Like,
cares about that other
something
show?
pulled us off. Of it.
I also have to jump to it. I've not watched any of it, but it's on my list. But I've been sucked into Ahsoka first. Just because if that's the recent one coming out, and that's going to lean more Jedi, and that's why I watch Star Wars is for space wizards with swords.
You guys,
I used to be that way until Andor, and I was like, wow, this is like not having any Jedi, any major characters that you really know. Like the Skywalker family basically doesn't exist. Like it was just a whole new and it was so good. Oh my God.
I
Anyways,
look forward to telling you why I didn't like it.
Star Wars Busters. Here we go.
you guys ever regret not getting on the Clone Wars train because then you missed the Rebels train and like you feel like you can't really watch Ahsoka and enjoy it properly?
I know. I always have some of my friends who've been talking about Ahsoka, and they're like, "When are you gonna watch Clone Wars? When are you gonna watch Rebels?" I'm like, "When I have like however many freaking hours to go through, however many seasons there are."
You know that I'm one of those people you just mentioned, and thank you for calling me out. But I've told you guys so many times, watch these things, even if you have to do it an episode at a time, because I was put off by the animation style and coming to it late. It was the thing I watched starting in the pandemic. Oh my God.
I missed the train on that too.
It is so good, even if just an episode at a time, because you get to learn more about Ahsoka and other characters like Rex and others that are, you see the names, they're a bigger deal in the fandom, and there's a reason. The biggest thing that Clone Wars did for me is I care about Anakin Skywalker as a character.
Yeah.
Like, to anyone listening to this, watch Clone Wars, watch Rebels. I don't care how long it takes you. It is worth it, I promise.
Everyone knows
gotta
me
get
as
there.
a huge Star Wars fan. Like I am.
We do.
I've
Yeah,
heard that.
it is my thing, right? And even like I just can't. I have tried so many times to watch the Clone Wars, and I just fall off every single time. And I want to. I absolutely want to, but it's just that animation. Like it's so hard for me to connect to an animated show in general, right? And I don't know.
Have you tried Rebels?
Nope.
Try that. The first season is also, the animation is tough to get into, but I think I was telling our buddy Brian this. Rebels has some of the best Star Wars moments I have ever experienced. Just
Man, I'm gonna have to
you
do that.
watch them and you're like, oh my God, that changes everything. That's incredible. It, like the chills start coming. It's great.
Ooh. Am I remembering the consensus correctly that like most people think the Clone Wars gets better at like season 3-ish?
It does get much better. Part of the issue is
Should I just hop straight there?
you could probably
Or would I
read some synopsis of the episodes. The issue is they were released out of order and they still appear out of order chronologically. So if someone
that's the most Star Wars fucking thing I've ever heard.
yeah, so there are resources online where you can see what order you should actually watch them in, so you see it happen as it happens. But yeah, it definitely picks up the further into the series you get.
I've also seen resources out there that point out which episodes you can just quickly read about and skip. But like, it's like if you just like, I don't know how many episodes there are. There's like 200 or 150 or whatever. But if you just want to watch 50 and get the major points of it, like really important episodes, I've seen a big list of that too. And it's like, you should watch like these 5 episodes in this order, then read the synopsis of these episodes, then watch these 3 and all that. So that might be the way I end up getting through it, but we'll see.
Scott, if you find success, please share your method.
I will.
I have long-standing vague interests that I've yet to be able to actualize.
Maybe we should stream a watch party of all of Clone Wars.
There you go.
Here, we can count that as Mythos Busters content.
Anything's content if you try hard enough.
So since we obviously jumped over to a lot of Star Wars there for a second, did we have any other Arkham things from this summer before we launch into what is essentially extended tentacle time for all of us? The only thing I had was that, Sean, you and I are still playing through that Dark Matter campaign with Reaverman.
We're close to the end.
We're getting there. It remains very enjoyable. It's just we're fighting real life schedules.
Real hard. Yeah, I think that's about the only other thing I have. I built a deck that I'll probably talk about next time we actually record, a normal episode. That I think will be the deck where I'm finally excited about the ceremonial sickle and the dowsing rod, the like Amina mystic assets. So I will report back on that. Yeah, I know. Scott, I shared it with you.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Intrigue. Yeah, so I'm planning on running that on one half of a Dream Eaters campaign, and I'll figure out what I'm going to do on the other one. But I'm really trying to get some chops in playing solo, true solo, because a true solo series is one of my main ideas for what I'm going to do with Twitch going forward. So I'm trying to like actually be somewhat competent in it. It's hard. It's really hard. The game squeezes true solo players in very unfair and uncomfortable ways.
Yeah. It's a different game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a different card pool.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Absolutely, it is. All right, cool. Well, let's move on to an extended tentacle time here. We had a bunch of time where our focus was not on Arkham, and I'm quite sure we did some things with it. For my part, I finished Midnight Suns finally.
Oh, okay.
I did that like right after BusterCon ended, so it actually feels like it's old news for me, but I realized that last time we recorded, I was still talking about Midnight Suns.
As you should, because it's so good.
Yeah, what a criminally underperforming and underrated game. I know there's a lot of factors that can make a game that deserves success fail, but some hit really hard. That one hits really hard. The fact that that one did not sell well, and like after the first round of DLC, it's probably not getting any more, and chances are, I mean, I don't know if they'll take another swing at a game like this, but it was so good. Yeah, so we've talked about it ad nauseum at this point, but I just think it was a really, really cool take on like the ensemble Marvel type game. It had a very, very like emotionally mature bent to it, where like you're like slowly becoming closer and closer friends with all of the different Marvel characters, and they get more and more comfortable opening up to you in kind of a fun, friendly way. Some of them snarkier than others, but do you guys have a favorite character? Mine's Magic. This game really opened my eyes to the coolness of magic as a character. I always knew, like her place and what she was about, but I thought the way that she was pulled off with just a very like Sun aloof kind of delivery. She was just a fantastic character.
They did such a good job with her, and I enjoy her character just in general, in the game or not. I also definitely wrote her off early and then found out she could actually be one of the most OP characters later. It's like, oh, okay.
Her ultimate ability is insane.
I see what's happening here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I really enjoyed Blade. Straightforward,
Blade was cool.
But man, just very proficient at what they had him do in there. And the personality is perfect.
Oh, and the actor they got was spot on. Ian, how far did you get?
I did not get super far. It's also been a long time since I played, so I was trying to remember who I liked, and I could not remember. According to Steam, I played 7 hours worth of Midnight Suns. I need to get back to it at some point.
Oh, see, I thought you were farther than that. Okay.
Yeah.
Would recommend, especially now that all the DLC's out.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they did a decent job. Like the DLC missions, I'm kind of middling on, but the characters were very well fleshed out, and they do not feel like they're tacked on to the game in a way that I would expect. So, yeah. Anyway, probably going to be the last words I speak on Midnight Sun for a while, but it was a very, very good game. If you see it on sale, which you probably will, because again, criminally underrated, did not sell well, goes on sale a lot. Give it a try.
Get a version with the DLC characters; they are worth it.
Yes. How about you guys? What'd you do with your gaming and other consumption this summer?
Well, one of the games I actually bought at FFG when we were there for BusterCon was the Star Wars deck building, which I bought it because it was Star Wars, and I'll basically play any Star Wars game, and I'd heard that it was good, a lot of good reviews. Those reviews stood up. I absolutely love the game. It's masterfully created. It feels Star Wars-y. I love the combos. The fact that you get to like pick your planet when your opponent destroys a planet, you have all these different planets and it's asymmetrical. Absolutely awesome. Also, there is a fantastic solo variant on BGG that is like you would think it was official. Absolutely fantastic.
That's the one you linked in
to
chat,
the point
right?
where I'm like,
I'll have to go save that page.
Oh my goodness, it is so good. It might be my favorite way to play that game now.
What? You like a solo game? That's off character.
Well, like I love that. I absolutely love the game, and now I can play it more often because I can just play it by myself. So, yeah.
Yeah, I actually like that one a lot too. I got to play it for the first time at BusterCon actually, because Caleb, who if folks don't know is actually the designer of that game, showed up to BusterCon for a bit, and so
now we can call him friend of the show, Caleb.
Yes,
officially, because he showed up at our
friend
con.
of the show, Caleb. I forgot what was happening, but I basically sat down to play, and he taught me how to play, and yeah, it's a lot of. Sometimes I'm kind of hit or miss with deck builders, but that one I'm a fan of how it plays.
It's not too far off from like Star Realms,
No, not too far off.
which is my favorite deck.
It's definitely Star Realms 2.0. If you like have you played this one, Sean?
I own it. I have yet to play it, but I've watched a few games, so like I know how it flows.
Yeah, if you like Star Realms, this is
And
Star
like
Realms 2.0.
Like back when I was into the Lord of the Rings and kind of in Caleb's sphere as a result, like he showed me Star Realms, so it's like it's full circle. It's like, I played so much fucking Star Realms. Remember when we had that league? yeah,
Star Realms chat.
That was fun.
Yeah,
that was fun. So speaking of Caleb and things he makes, I played a lot of Marvel Champions. They've continued to do X-Men stuff, and they moved into X-Force shit.
That's right.
And both Cable and Domino. Like I was very excited about Cable. Domino's a character I know and like cool, whatever. It's cool that but they both ended up being really fun pre-cons. Like I still have not broken the pre-cons down yet. I'm just my first time through any of the box stuff, the box campaigns for Marvel, I usually try to see how far the precons can get before I get frustrated. But God, just really, really fun characters. They're doing the exact part of the Marvel continuity that I would like to do. So I'm here for it. We get Deadpool soon.
I remember
Psylocke.
I remember we were talking when they announced the mutant stuff, that you and I, because we're both so into X-Men, we're like, oh man, who do we want them to do? Who could they design? Then we'd love it. And then we're like, I really hope they do Cable, but they probably won't do Cable. And then they did Cable.
And then they just went straight to Cable, baby. Yeah, the new stuff that's coming out too. So we got Angel, Deadpool, X-23, and Psylocke. Is that right?
I believe
That would make 6. Yep.
And I have been very, very impressed with the just general hero design. Basically, since I like the hero design for the game in general, but like in particular, since the X-Men box started, all of the hero design has felt very satisfying, and they just have like good personality. So I am, in the absence of playing more Arkham, I have been playing a decent amount of Marvel Champions, and it's a lot of the gripes I used to have with the game have gone away a bit. It still has those games where like a certain specific combo-y villain will like get the right combination of encounter cards and like knock you out on turn 2. That still happens, but overall, I'm very, very much enjoying Champions.
All right. First on the list is I finally learned to play Soulforge. My brother has been talking to me about that. He backed the Kickstarter, and you guys know I like Keyforge, and so this is some of the same shtick of partially constructed decks, but then you put 2 halves together. Where it has really shined is I did not realize how much having just 5 lanes where you can play something changes the game, and it avoids a lot of what we're running into and maybe not being as pleased about with the newest Keyforge set, where it can really sprawl. Now it is, you got to deal with these 5 lanes. And so sure, you could try and just build a massive board, but you have 5 lanes. You only get to play 2 cards in a round. And so you play one, your opponent plays one, you play one, your opponent plays one, round is over. And granted, there's some things where you could play more, but that's not the standard. So that's been cool. Replayed Control on, on PS5. Yeah, Sean actually is the reason I played it, because he was going through it again. I was like, man, it's been probably 2 years since I played Control. I'm going to play through the whole thing on PS5.
Oh, my God. That game runs like butter on PS5.
It made so much of a difference.
Because the last time I played it, and I think this is true for you too, Justin, is it was back in PS4 days. And even on my PS4 Pro, like, it sounded like a jet engine about to take off. Like, that game stressed that machine.
Well, and it, like, one of the great things about the game, and you get the ability to just telekinetically throw the environment, and it's
force throw.
So good.
It's the most satisfying force throw has ever been.
It is. But it would always hang up for half a second at a certain point on PS4, and so here I had to acclimate to, it actually just kept moving. Okay, great. But well worth a play if you haven't played that already.
I mean, honestly, it was very good to be playing that at around the same time I was vibing on the Scarlet Keys. Because the idea of like a secret organization hoarding these objects of power and getting into political intrigue, like, it's all very... I would be surprised if Control did not have some influence on the way MJ approached Scarlet Keys. So that was very...
You experience part of the story through notes you find, or little one-off detours. So
I could see history of characters. Yeah, it was very, very consonant energy.
Yeah. Last 2 things I had on my list. This is just a weird one-off nerdy win. So I think I mentioned I play Minecraft off and on, especially in the winter. It's a thing my brothers and I can do. We don't always overlap, all 3 of us with the same gaming taste, but that one still hits. We had started playing it back circa, it must have been, I don't know, 2010, 2011, somewhere in there. But we originally played on the Xbox 360. And so we had this shared world, and I had to leave my Xbox on at night so people could still use it, and no shared servers. And so it's this fun memory, right? Well, I found a way to bring that world forward
Ooh, nice.
because
Ooh.
I had to
That's
take
cool.
I had to take the Xbox 360 world, then go buy a Xbox One edition of Minecraft. They had a specific version for the Xbox One. Put it in an Xbox One when I visited my brother, uploaded the world, then had to convert it and upload it to my PS5. And so now I can access my world from the Xbox 360 that was only like 800 blocks wide, and now it's near infinite.
That's awesome.
It is adorable.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
And last thing on my list was I am starting a reread of the Lucifer comics. They are awesome. They're very different than the TV show. If anyone knows, that is like the entry point. It's based on the same character but presented very differently. But yeah, it's really, really good.
Awesome. How wide is that? Like how many like?
I have it in the collected edition, and so I think there's 5 or 6 of the trade paperbacks.
Okay.
So let's say there's 6 to 8 issues in each of those. So let's call it maybe 50-ish issues.
Sure.
But
Okay.
yeah,
That's
you
not
are-
too bad.
You are welcome to borrow it if you would ever like, Sean.
I might. You know, I miss the days when I had the attention span for like real reading. Graphic novels I can do.
For my part, during this summer, I think the big thing is actually went back to playing video games a bit, which hasn't happened for a long time, because usually that time has been for board games. Mostly it's been into Baldur's Gate 3. I was pulling it up on Steam, and I'm currently at 62 hours for that already, which is a lot for me. It's really, I mean, obviously it's been a big hit for a lot of folks, but for me, like, Dragon Age Origins is one of my favorite RPGs ever. And Baldur's Gate 3 hits a lot of those same, like, feelings for me. It's not, like, the exact same kind of game, but, like, the same kind of feelings I got of being, like, really addicted to playing Origins back in the day and trying different paths. But
Well, if you remember at the chatter at the time Origins came out, like one of the main things people were saying was like, "Oh, they're like soft rebooting Baldur's Gate."
Right.
Like it was
Yeah.
very, very much a similar type of game.
for sure. And I think Baldur's Gate 3 is probably the closest I've experienced to, like, tabletop role-playing in video game form. Just the ways that it lets you, like, tackle problems in a variety of different ways and come up with creative solutions. Like, people have come up
Down to rolling a digital D20 for a lot of important tests.
Yes, which I
right?
love, because a lot of times when games are, like, abstracting a, like, tabletop system of some kind, they, like, leave out the dice rolls or hide them. I'm like, I want to see the dice roll. Like, I want to physically see it. So the first time it popped up on the screen, I was so happy. So yeah, I just really vibing on Baldur's Gate 3. Not done yet. Probably by the time I finish, I'll be like 100+ hours into that thing. But yeah, I imagine it's gonna end up being one of my top games of all time, because it's yeah, great game. Yeah.
Wow.
I grabbed it. I got like 6-7 hours in, and that's like a slow 6-7 hours. And then I got to like my first camp, like my first long rest, and I couldn't talk to anyone, and the game was glitching
Oh no.
out. And I'm like, oh no, like after this really, really long fight that I already had to do twice because I kept getting killed, and it kind of killed it for me.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna get back to it, I promise.
Yeah.
Like everyone tells me how good it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely worth the hype. Another game I played a bit that I didn't finish, which is a much shorter game, and a more of an indie game, but it's interesting, is called Stray Gods, which is an RPG game. It's called a role-playing musical, because throughout... it's not.
I wishlisted this.
Yeah, it's not so much an RPG. It's called a role-playing musical, but it's more of like a Telltale style, like visual novel. But
It's like a dating sim almost, right?
yeah, but throughout the main character bursts into song because it's a musical, and you like pick which lyric they're gonna go with, and the song and the mood of the song will change depending on. And so, just as a fan of musicals, I'm like, okay, this is right up my alley. And then when I found out it's based on like Greek mythology too, I'm like, oh god, like I love stuff based on Greek mythology. So I haven't finished it, but it's on the shorter side. I think it's probably like, I don't know, like 10 hours to get through it, something like that, which I personally don't mind to have a shorter game. But yeah, it's, if you like kind of visual novel style and you like musicals and you like Greek mythology, it's a good little game. It's fun.
Keep saying more things I like, Ian.
Yeah, I know.
It's nice to hear it in your voice.
Yeah, so those are two big ones. Other than that, just kept up with the Star Trek shows, of course. Had finished second season of Strange New Worlds. Freaking love that show. They did a musical episode, so I'm just like, this is the summer of musicals. Star Trek musical, everything I ever wanted. And all the toxic Star Trek fans were so salty that they did a musical episode, and that just made me love it more and enjoy it more that they did it.
Yeah.
I'm like, cry more, please.
Die mad about it. Yeah.
People
Your
were
tears
so
sustain
upset
you.
about it, but it's just like, people are never happy because they're like, oh, Star Trek, these new Star Trek shows, they don't take any chances. And then this season they've done all kinds of crazy stuff and people are upset, so whatever. But
No, not those chances.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was great. So I've been listening to the musical episode on Spotify, and then we already talked about keeping up with the new Star Wars show. That's about it, I think. I'm sure there was some other stuff in there, but those were the main things.
Weird question. Have you guys kickstarted anything recently?
No.
Sean, your ice
No,
switching.
I haven't.
Oh, okay.
I've been clean since 2019, baby.
Whatever time of the year you ask me that question, Scott, the answer is likely to be yes.
I'm not sure if I talked about this before we left, but I kickstarted the Firefly
Oh, that's right.
10th
Yeah.
anniversary edition board game. Yeah. Anyways,
That's
I'm just
that's
excited for
apropos.
that.
We just started watching Firefly with the kiddo, so I'm super in Firefly mode right now.
Ooh.
We're almost
Nice.
to Serenity.
Well, late pledges are open.
Mm.
So.
God damn it! Is it the same board game that they
I-
released back in 2012?
Yes, with all the expansions plus a new expansion, but a big box that holds all of it, and it organized and stuff, and a neoprene mat of the entire map of the galaxy, so you don't have the because the expansion came with little sideboards to add more, and now it's one big one, and it's 4 feet
Oh my
wide,
God!
I think.
And it lives in a chest.
Yeah, your table would be perfect for it, actually.
Interesting. Well, we might be headed toward a relapse, gentlemen.
Yeah, sorry. I also backed Leviathan Wilds, which I'm super
I
excited
did
about.
too. Yeah.
Nice. I'll have to play that.
Is that the one that's kind of like Shadow of
Yes.
the
Yeah.
Colossus-y?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, cool.
The pretty much the full game is they have a demo, but it's the full game mostly on TTS, and I have been having a blast with it. So that might be something we want to organize a playtime.
I'm not opposed.
Mhm.
Cool. Scott, how's Tears of the Kingdom going for you? That's the
Oh,
other
man.
big thing I've got on my plate.
It's actually slowed down a bit, just not having time. Still have not collected all the Korok seeds, but I have yet. But I have hit every shrine. Did every.
Did you beat the main story? I assume.
I basically have. I've gotten to the point where I have to go fight Ganondorf,
Got
and
it.
I have not.
Okay.
So, yeah, I got all the sages' wills, those things. I've fought a number of Gleeoks, which are an incredibly difficult enemy.
They're insane.
Yeah, and then I found some King Gleeoks, which is one of each head, fire, electricity, and ice.
That's gross. That's gross.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
It's insane. That game is still absolutely amazing, though. Best video game I've ever played.
It's
So,
really good.
yeah.
It is. I don't think it's like Breath of the Wild 2, right? Like it is a completely different like just the tools that it gives you, you interact with the big open world so differently.
Yeah.
The one downside is, well, Megan really, really loved Breath of the Wild because she loves like open world exploration games.
Mm-hmm.
The bent toward like engineering puzzles made it not as easy to pick up and just kind of like fucking turn your brain off and play for an hour like Breath of the Wild you could. Like the game asks a lot more of you mentally. It's fun. Like I've been able to bring what little engineering knowledge I have. Like I'd watch Megan build a like one of the wing things with the fans.
Yeah.
And be like, oh, you need to place that fan over there, or it's gonna knock off the equilibrium. Or like
Yeah.
the way the physics works in that game is actually very solid for what it is.
I have a little like hover bike that I have like saved for auto build, and it's like anytime I need to build anything, I'm just like, nah, I'm just gonna use the hover bike. You know, like if I'm going around and I have an armor set that extends the life of my battery, like it's
Oh, I need to get that.
yeah, that armor set is also hilariously fun to get. You go to these sky islands that I didn't think were actual islands because they're so high up. Like you're standing on sky islands and looking up, and they're just like a glimmer way up,
Like in the stratosphere.
yeah. And like to get there, like sometimes it takes like 2 to 3 minutes of flying from a sky island going
Jeez.
up, like, and you have to wear cold weather gear and stuff, and the puzzles in them are just incredible. Like they are, yeah, like end game quote unquote sky island stuff. But
Crazy.
I have completed the sky islands. I have every shrine up there, every Korok seed, everything. So I never have to go to the sky islands again. So that's where I'm at with that.
Cool.
Not because I was like, ugh, I hate them. It's just I was like, well, I have to start somewhere. That's the smallest piece of the map. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Top down, baby.
yep. I still haven't unlocked all the glimmer routes in the depths.
No, I'm not even close. That's
Yeah.
definitely my like least trodden path at this point.
I think I've talked about this where I don't like dark and scary games on the podcast before, but like
Well, that's a problem.
to a childish level, like I hate exploring the depths if the glimmer route isn't there. Like, yeah,
It can, it's creepy.
yeah, and so I hover bike till the glimmer route and glimmer route and glimmer route, and once it's lit up, I'm okay with it. But like when it's dark, I do not like it.
You'll have to send me a picture of your hover bike so I can copy your design.
Oh yeah, it's literally 3 pieces, 2 fans and a steering stick.
Yeah, no, but like how you attach them is
Oh,
what
okay,
matters.
yeah.
Because there are different schools of thought.
Yeah, mine was
Alright.
whatever was out on social media like in the first day.
Oh, sure,
Yeah.
sure. Then I think you might have actually shared it already. Then
Oh, probably.
I'll have to look back.
Yeah, I did build a custom one though that I added more fans so I could carry the, some of the shrines have
the green crystals.
yeah, the green crystal, but it's so heavy. So I built one, but that can actually take it, and also carry the Koroks who are lost, like the little Koroks you got to bring to their buddy. I built a special one for
Yeah.
that too. So
Fun. Yeah, I'm looking forward to capping that game off.
oh, it's such a good game.
All right. Well, it's been a fun summer. We're very happy to be back with you guys. As mentioned, our format will be changing and shifting. Things will be a little fluid here while we figure out what we're doing, what we can do. So bear with us. We will record our next episode. We're doing this one just us, but we will be recording our next episode in our Discord channel or in our Discord server live. As we get to scheduling the next recordings, we will also put our recording dates in our Discord. So if you haven't joined our Discord, search us on Discord. It's Mythos Busters. You're welcome.
Discord.gg/MythosBusters.
That's right.
There you
That's
go.
right. And now they have the directory too, so it's like it's so easy to find us. Come join our Discord.
Yeah.
And pay attention to our Twitch and YouTube channels as well. And boy, I hope everyone had a great summer. Thanks for joining us for episode 158 of Mythos Busters, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.